Let's talk about what's happening at MultiChoice. Showmax has come to an end, or will be coming to. Has it come to an end? I haven't checked if it's actually done, or it's coming to an end at a specific period. But nonetheless, that ecosystem is about to be disrupted big time, completely eliminated. Are they? Let's find out from the people on the ground what impact this is actually going to have.
Absolutely. A major change on its way for the streaming landscape overall here in South Africa. MultiChoice, MultiChoice making an announcement that its streaming service Showmax will be discontinued following a review of the company's digital business, as it were. So we're going to talk about it because, according to the company, the move is reflective of a shift towards stronger financial discipline as the costs of operation, largely streaming platforms, continue to rise around the world. We've got on the line to help us unpack the discussion Leslie Adams in his capacity as leading industry voice and sales director at Reach Africa. Leslie, thank you for the time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. What does this decision to discontinue Showmax signal about the current state of the streaming industry on the continent and perhaps globally as well?
Look, I think the first thing it points out is that Canal Plus is going to move fast in their cost-saving measures to move the business into a different phase. They have announced, they had made some utterances that they don't believe in Showmax. They do think there's a different way to move forward. But they have also indicated that it still believes in streaming. So this is not necessarily a streaming reposition, more of a sunsetting of a brand in favor of a different way of going forward.
Were you shocked, Leslie, when Canal announced that they'll be shutting down Showmax?
You know, for a brand that's 11 years old and has held its place in South Africans' hearts and minds for 11 years, it was a little shocking. Not surprising, but definitely shocking. Not surprising in the fact that, look, after Showmax 2.0 launched in 2024, they've still not managed to hit the target that they'd set for themselves. And they've pumped a lot of money into this project and ultimately have not reached a point of profitability. And this is where globally the trend is heading to. Streaming services are not chasing just user growth, but they're also chasing profitability. So average revenue per user becomes that much more important.
Okay, perhaps we can stay there because I guess, you know, in you mentioning that it was not surprising, but it was shocking. I think that is perhaps because of that gap that people don't necessarily understand the cost implications or the cost of running streaming platforms. Take us through that. What does it actually take to have streaming platforms running 24/7 and keeping this programming alive? Because from where I'm sitting, I don't know much at all. I'm thinking, well, they've got all this advertising. Why can't they just get on with it? So what does it actually take to have a streaming platform run at this level?
So, I mean, if you look at the numbers reported just from Showmax alone, it's in excess of 350 million rand invested in the last couple of years alone. So looking at billions and billions of rands invested over that time, and a large portion of that is just to the technology of being able to host and distribute that content. A big chunk of that, as you mentioned, is advertising, because you have to market to the audience and you have to acquire users and keep users engaged as you go forward. So it's massively expensive. But just engaging with licensed and content owners globally. Showmax, for example, had a Premier League offering. They had international content from the likes of Paramount and HBO and others. And to acquire that content, again, one, you're paying in US dollars. Two, you're signing multi-year deals. And three, it comes at a massive cost upfront before you've acquired the user, before you and I have paid our subscription. And because of that, it's a massive capital expense upfront. And to be honest with you, it's not unique to Showmax. It's unique. Showmax is unique in the sense that it's a specifically African-focused streaming services that works on the continent. But many other global services sort of use Africa where they understand that they'll make a loss in this region, but have other regions where they can sort of subsidize that space over time.
Currently in conversation with Leslie Adams, Sales Director at Reach Africa. We're unpacking the decision that MultiChoice have made to discontinue their streaming platform Showmax. We'll further unpack it right after this.
If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove? This is your home, The Upside. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za.
20 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time, MultiChoice has announced plans to discontinue its streaming platform Showmax following the acquisition of the company by French broadcaster Canal Plus. And we are still in conversation with Leslie Adams, Sales Director at Reach Africa, to discuss the impact thereof. Leslie, this platform Showmax, it played a rather important role in local content production. What now happens to this ecosystem?
Well, I think we need to take a sort of zoomed out assessment of it. It's MultiChoice as a business that's been investing in local content for the past 30 plus years. And that will not stop under Canal Plus. In fact, one could argue that the local content investment is ultimately the true USP in differentiating the MultiChoice Showmax against any other global partner, is that they understand the local audience, they understand the local market, they understand how to commission local content. But to what level they will continue to invest in it remains a question that I think many of us want to sort of clarify and get answered. Canal Plus has indicated they will announce the next steps in the phasing out of Showmax and what will replace it. If we look at the other markets they work within, we could expect a multi-tiered, costing-tiered super app, which will be quite interesting to expand. But ultimately, the African audience has responded to African content really positively. And Netflix can't compete at this level. Amazon, in fact, pulled out in 2024, saying that they just can't figure it out. MultiChoice has figured it out, has been very successful in this space, and I expect that to continue under Canal Plus.
So let's look at it from an industry perspective, just overall. And looking at the consolidation in terms of the streaming sector, what does that now mean in terms of the importance of doing that, and what does that mean for how we're going to be looking at streaming going forward? I think also just using Canal Plus as an example, is that going to perhaps change how African content is produced so that it can accommodate what is happening in the sector at the moment?
One would hope for the better, right? So Canal Plus offers access to Francophone Africa, but also into Europe. What this could mean that for African content creators and producers and scriptwriters is that they can find new audiences with the diaspora outside of the African continent, which could be a very big positive in terms of how we can get our content, our stories out there to a market who has a hunger to consume it. So that's the one sort of positive possible outcome. The other thing is that we do find ourselves globally in a point of consolidation where we will have fewer platforms, but stronger platforms with deeper libraries, which will compete more fiercely. One of the things that is quite interesting is that, including Showmax, many streamers out there have imported this European way of doing business or the American way of subscriber-based streaming. What we'd like to see as a way moving forward is a more African-based streaming solution that sort of bends and yields and works with the African realities of how the commerce and how we subscribe to and how we consume content. We know for a fact that YouTube is the most successful streaming platform globally and on the continent. And how can we blend sort of YouTube's free to consume and this premium paid to consume together and merge that in a way that is beneficial to our African audience? And that, I think, will deliver value and ultimately deliver success for the business behind it.
Leslie, as it stands right now, I think for those who have downloaded this app and have used, have been consuming content on the app for a long time, they've got the Showmax originals on there, they've been consuming that. The announcement, did it provide clarity in terms of how they're phasing it out as of yet? Are we still able to access it if we have downloaded it? Or do they have a deadline when it will no longer be operational?
Timelines have not been fully confirmed, but
Okay.
they have assured the public that their user experience will not be interfered at all. So to answer your question directly, you still have access. You can still consume the content. You will still pay a subscription within that space, and the content you know and love will still be there and available to you. The next steps in the process and the migration to what will come after Showmax will be announced in the coming weeks and will be managed carefully from the business perspective. I would suspect that the announcement came so early because they were afraid of any leaks getting out into market prematurely, hence the early announcement. But for the time being, it's business as usual. The content is available, the app is available. Go out and watch.
Okay. Well, that's we're getting on a positive boat now with this. But Africa has been viewed as a growing market, especially when we look at digital entertainment. So how important is the African audience, as you and I speak, in terms of, global streaming and how companies generally are viewing the African audience under this lens?
Look, the absolute reality is, 5 years ago, 2030 sounded like a long time away. 2030 now is 4 years away. And the significance of this particular date is it's a line in the sand for many global targets, many UN targets. But if you look at some of the numbers and the stats coming out and why Africa is so critical to the future of all media and all workforce going forward, is that by 2030, 60% of the world's youth under 25 will be in Africa. More people are connected to the internet on the continent than anywhere else in the world, which means it's a massive growth opportunity and the future of all digital entertainment going forward. Whereas the rest of the world, specifically the Western Europe and the US, are trying to automate and go full AI because they see a gap in their own populations because they have so little youth that they're trying to fill a gap of labor going forward with automation and robotics. In Africa, we'll have the youngest, the most educated and most connected audience going forward, which makes it an amazing fertile ground for digital entertainment going forward. What is different, though, is that we do still face infrastructure challenges, currency challenges, income challenges. So the businesses that will thrive here are the ones who are built for Africans and put Africans at the core of their build, not just import what they've learned elsewhere and try and implement it here, which is why I think Canal Plus will use their local IP from the existing MultiChoice team with a sort of global lens from Canal Plus and European learning, and merging those two together, I think will has a possibility to become a winning formula in a very tough market.
Leslie, we really appreciate your time this afternoon and for shining a light on what's happening at Showmax, at MultiChoice. For those who are concerned, perhaps even worried that, oh my goodness, how am I going to consume my content? Is it not available now? Because we hear that announcement and immediately we think, okay, I don't have access to it. But thank you for providing that clarity. Let's find out just a bit about Reach Africa and the work that you guys do there.
Yes, we work with content partners, manufacturers, and brands and merge that together to find solutions meaningful for the consumer, meaningful for the brand, and meaningful for our corporate and commercial partners. So what we try and do is we try to lead this conversation into the next chapter of television. And the next chapter of television ultimately is streaming, and we want to be part of that conversation, bringing brands from a revenue perspective, bringing content players with distributors, and bringing that world together and ultimately delivering value for the consumer, for the brands, and for the users.
All right. Thank you so much, Leslie. ReachAfrica.com, actually, if you want to acquaint yourself with the work of the organization in terms of how they're helping brands to connect with premium audiences everywhere. All right. Thank you so much for the time. Leslie Adams joining us in his capacity as leading industry voice, as you heard him on our program, and of course, sales director at Reach Africa.